So I want to talk about Arrowhead, very particularly. You told me that you grew up in Bartica.
Well, my roots are in Bartica, but I grew up in Georgetown.
Okay.
My roots, yeah.
Your roots are in Bartica. You grew up in Georgetown.
Yes.
You went to Queen's College. Well, you went to St. Stanislaus, then you went to Queen's College.
Correct.
And after that, you migrated. But ultimately, your music career started at Queen's College, and subsequent to that, you wrote a series of songs. Obviously,
Yes.
the song that we are going to talk about is not the song you might have written first.
No.
You most probably wrote a lot of songs leading up to that.
Yes.
So the question I want to ask is, how do you think, in terms of the compositions you made, what prompted the direction of your compositions? What prompted it? What made you decide, I'm going to write about this or sing about this when you started? What was it that really influenced the direction that you took? And I'm talking here both in terms of the words you put into the songs
Right.
and the kind of genre you use. Because you got a kind of soca, stroke, Guyana rhythm to your songs. It's kind of soca, but it's still got another element of the whole Guyanese feeling to it. So what prompted that direction?
Well, it's interesting to say that because I've always considered myself an R&B pop singer. That's my roots right there. Growing up as a child, I mean, everybody wanted to be Michael Jackson. You know, the guys wanted to be Michael Jackson, the girls wanted to marry him. My sister was convinced she was going to marry him. You know, so many others. But Michael was such a presence, such a figure in our lives and the music. And I was blessed to listen to so many different genres of music, and so many eras, because my dad was a big Sinatra fan. My dad actually saw Barbra Streisand's first performance. And it's interesting because where he lives now, he's in Newkirk Avenue, and he's 1302, and where she was born is 1320, right on the block. So I was introduced to all these show tunes. I mean, Streisand. Before Whitney Houston, I was very much aware of Cissy Houston, her mom, who sang with the Sweet Inspirations, who backed up Elvis Presley. So I heard that my dad's day, we could play music Monday through Saturday. Sunday was my dad's day. So with my dad, I heard all that Sam Cooke stuff. I heard all that Johnny Mathis stuff. And what I did, I would do impressions of them, like Sammy Davis Jr., whom I still think is one of the most underrated musical prodigies ever. Predating Michael Jackson. Sammy Davis started as a little boy and everything else. Same kind of direction. And Michael Jackson learned a lot from him too. You know. So Sammy Davis Jr., Shirley Bassey, all these individuals I learned from my dad. For my brother, my older brother, you were talking a few years ahead, 4 years ahead, I heard what was contemporary. You know, the Curtis Mayfield stuff, Superfly, you know, Isaac Hayes, who I think is another genius in my opinion. Brilliant man with 40-minute songs that don't get boring. That I learned. So I really pulled from, and then of course Bob Marley. So when I was doing O-levels, I had the newest Bob Marley album, and you gotta study. I'm just sitting there on vacation playing Catch a Fire, whatever, and I'm listening to music, but I heard all these things. I mean, they all were going into this memory bank of mine without my even realizing that. And of course, listening to music in Guyana, because we heard so many different genres. I always like to say it's a theory of Kenny. I'd say, if you say, what's the theory of Kenny? I'd say, okay, here's the thing. Within an hour, you can hear Kenny Rogers, Kenny Loggins, Kenny Rankin, Kenny whoever. You would hear this, I mean, Kenny Lattimore later on, but that's what Guyana did for me. And it was really a hell of a learning ground for me to hear this kind of music. So as I went forward, when I went to New York, I got all this R&B and pop stuff in my head. Soca, no. Of course, I knew Calypso with Mighty Sparrow, reggae music, but I was not a big soca fan per se when soca started playing. I've heard the music, but somebody was saying, I mean, I guess it was like an unintentional snobbery in my mind, because people would say, oh yeah, listen to drum band music again, you know, lick it down, lick it down, lick it down. Well, you know, it was in the back of my mind. You go to parties, people getting drunk, and it's winding down to the ground with soca music. Oh, winding down to the ground was never really my style. I mean, I didn't look down on it. I enjoyed watching it, but it wasn't really my thing. I was into doing more of the pop moves and everything else. I would say, in a sense, somebody once called me an accidental soca singer. I would say more like incidental. Not that, because there are no accidents in my life. That's how I look at it anyway. So going to Caravana, hearing the music playing, hearing soca music playing, seeing the flag, getting the idea of has anyone written a song with the flag, and really impacting for me how beautiful this flag is. Prompted me to leave Caravana, went home, wrote the song, jumped in the shower, wrote the song, came back to Caravana, and as we went back, driving back to New York, I kept writing more and more. Arrowhead is probably, I would say, next to the song I did with Michael Jackson, which is The Thriller Stands Alone. I'd put those two next to each other as the most difficult songs and the easiest songs I've ever written. Arrowhead came in a rush. The actual creation of the song, because I knew what I wanted. I didn't, that's something I set about doing because it was on the spot. I didn't go there saying, I'm gonna write a song with this flag. It's just that it came to me and I decided to create that. The Michael Jackson thing was definitely, that was in my mind. But with Arrowhead, the reason I say it's so difficult is because of the invisible bar. The same invisible bar that's there when I put those two songs together with Michael Jackson. Because the difficult thing is that I'm creating a song about this iconic thing. I mean, it doesn't get more patriotic than the flag. I mean, that's where, a country lives and breathes the flag. And the fact that we have a name for a flag, which many countries do not have. It's just like, oh, that's the flag, or La Bandera. Now, and I'm singing in a genre that's completely new to me. I wouldn't have given myself much hope for that, but I personally liked it, but I didn't know if Guyana was gonna like it. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna send this song to Guyana. I'm gonna do the song, create this piece of work, and I'm gonna give it to my father as a gift. Because I always say my father is the most patriotic Guyanese man I've ever met. People always think, oh, you're a patriot. I said, you should meet my father. But when I took it home, my father actually had tears in his eyes. And I said, boy, I think I got something here. And he turned to my stepsister, whom you know, Charlene, and he said, unbeknownst to me, I printed some copies. I was giving copies out to friends. I gave one to Angela Rose when she was at the UN. I hadn't seen her brother work there. And I'm like, oh my God. So I had a little, release party. Nothing major. Because I didn't really think it was going to go that far. So he told Charlene to take some copies, and she took 5 copies to Guyana, and the rest. I was in the shower when Don Gomes called me, as if he knew me. Courtney Noel, you're live on the radio. What the heck? But that's Don Gomes. I mean, come on. But I didn't know, who the heck is this? Well, you're live on the radio from Guyana, and you're playing, and listening to the background. And I said, what? And I said, oh my God, this is way, way, way beyond me. Now the thing is, the reason why I had such trepidation about this song is because I had nightmares. I had sleepless nights about my old English teacher, Mrs. Howell, saying, well, when you put this here, you have this information, you have to go back, it's not 1863, it's 1864. That's what I kept doing. So I was really doing my research to really make sure. And there was maybe we're writing about, just writing about the flag, writing about Guyana, and I wanted to be a song by a Guyanese, about Guyanese, for all Guyanese. I didn't want to be a political song, I didn't want to be a race-oriented song, I wanted to be a song about all Guyanese. So it was a very short song at the beginning, and then I said, no, I gotta put the races in there. That's part, from the land of many waters, come the people of different cultures, African, and then the music behind it, and every race had its music behind it. So I really wanted to be a complete song, I really wanted to be complete. It's a long song. As a matter of fact, for soca today, it would be considered a long song. But that couldn't, we talk about 3-minute songs, basically 3.5-minute songs. But for that era and for that particular genre, for people to dance, because I was thinking about the dances, I was thinking of all that as I was seeing it in my head. My sister Cheryl and her girls, I kept seeing them in my head, and I kept hearing Avis Joseph's voice in my head, even though she didn't teach me for very long, only for 3 months, for one semester. I wanted to show respect to these individuals, to Edith Peters, to Valerie Broadway, these individuals, to Billy Pilgrim, and I had a very good experience actually performing it live without music, a cappella, when I went to visit him at the Brazilian embassy, and there were some kids in from Brazil, and he said, well, Courtney, you gotta sing now. And I sang. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. There's so many stories. This is the 20th anniversary of the song that I really want the world to really, and Guyana in particular, to really know that what the song has done for me, and how Guyanese have reacted to it in Guyana and the diaspora. It's not going anywhere.
So tell me,
It outlived me.
tell me, as a Guyanese who is living in a foreign country, uh, who is seeing pretty much other things. You're not experiencing Guyana on a day-to-day basis. You come back for holidays and
Right.
stuff, but how does the impact of that flag and Guyana express itself through what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
It does. It does. Well, first of all, somebody once asked me a question. I think it might have been Enrico who asked me this question. If I would have written "I Love My Golden Arrowhead" if I were living in Guyana, and it really gave me pause because I might not have done it. I might not have done it because of the fact that no Guyanese musician had done it, and what it impacted upon me. I'm not knocking the Guyanese musicians, believe me, but I'm saying that we take it for granted. As we see the flag. You take your parents for granted.
Mm-hmm.
You see mommy, daddy, until one day you don't see them. It's like, son, yes, dad, good. You know they're there. You know they're there.
So you're comfortable.
Yeah, you're comfortable with them. The reality is that I might not have done it because I would have been like everybody else. Just like the flag is always there until one day someone did it, and I said, you know what, I should have done that. Because it's so obvious. It's so obvious. But the thing is that living in New York for the amount of time I've been there for 42 years now, I see a lot of Guyanese people. I see them at the UN where I work. I see them, in Queens, in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. I really feel that vibe. I'm about to do something about that too pretty soon. To me, I take joy because I've sung this song so many times. I've been singing this song for 20 years. And when I hit that stage, it might sound weird to the next person, but it never fails to amaze me, the very fact that I'm singing on stage. Because by the law of man, I'm not supposed to be doing that. I have to say it's a really spiritual thing that I was blessed to be able to do this. People say when they talk about themselves, when they talk about, this gift of music, I'm so, gifted. And, I always thought it was something a little precious, I'd be a little humble. But what I realized as I gotten older is that this is a gift, this is a present that God gave me to be able to do this without any training. It's really a present I don't take for granted. And I always say anyone, whether it's athletics, running, jumping, singing, dancing, acting, to be able to do it and do it, to really express yourself, as Bruce Lee said, to express myself honestly, it's a tremendous gift. And I know it doesn't come from me. So to be able to see Guyanese and to see the reaction of Guyanese people, for this song I've been singing for 20 years, that when I sing it, every song I write, my songs are my babies. I don't write anything that I don't feel, that I haven't experienced. And there's some real raw emotions out there. When I sing, especially with the other songs, like pop songs or our love songs, everything is me. There's no, I'm gonna sit down one day and say, something. Russell got a big foot. Let me write with Russell Bigfoot. And I might see the Russell Bigfoot and say, that'd be a nice thing for a soca. And you get
You're not cutting that out of the interview. I should tell you.
I have been warned.
See, don't go down that road.
No, but
You could have called anybody else's name, but not Russell.
Never. When you see a court strike.
And strike, not gonna happen. Not accepting it at any level.
Never. Put it behind the back.
Yes. So talk about any other thing.
Thing is,
you can talk about any other subject for your singer. So go get on that.
Yes, sir. My thing is, seriously, the stories that I can tell, that I've had experience with, the people who have come up to me, who remember singing that song when they were in primary school and whatnot, to really, I had an experience one time at not the folk festival, I think it was the Unity concert, the first one, and or the second one actually. I wasn't performing, but I went to support. Richard Burke put it together in Brooklyn, and I went to support. And I saw these really beefed up cops. They were Indian cops standing there. I said, well, that's a little unusual, But I said, great. I don't think they were Guyanese. So they were there looking very serious, And James Richmond, James Richmond, the poet, he said to them, and I wasn't wearing my usual Arrowhead stuff. You know, it's pretty much well, you'd say mufti.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, you know who this guy is? He called me to take a picture with him. And he turned to them and said, you know, this is the guy who sang this song, Arrowhead. And let me tell you something. These guys, wait a second. And the guys, and then they became a real guy named. Said, I know that you and me brothers play the song all the time. He said, no, I gotta take a picture. And it was, I'm like, wow, that's like a, but to me, that's not about my ego. That's about my pride. There's a big difference. That's my pride in the fact that I'm proud of this song because I'm proud of my country. And I'm proud of the fact that people have taken it so personally. And, you know, I had another experience. One time, a minister did come to York College, and he was giving a speech about oil and stuff like that. And before he spoke, the DJ Oswald Bob was playing music. So Arrowhead started. He's put on Arrowhead. So I'm talking to a friend of mine, and this woman, you know, tapped me on the shoulder, and she was on her feet. She said, "What happened, y'all? Let's stand up. You gotta stand for the national anthem. What was really happening? We already that one because of course that was and she thought it was the national anthem."
Mm-hmm.
My friend turned to her and he said, "No, it's a song. It's his song actually." She said, "Really?" And she listened a bit more. And she sat down. Right? She actually sucked her teeth. And she sat back down. I guess she was a little embarrassed. So I don't think much of it. I kept on talking to my friend. And actually it was Eddie George. So I mean talking stuff. I mean Carolyn comes because we're waiting for Minister to have his moment to speak. And then she tapped again on his shoulder. So I looked her up and said, "Sonny, it's a nice tune. And I said, "Thank you." And then I were killing herself with that later on. But the point I'm making is that, I've had people tell me, my wife at the time, she'd say, she always looked at the audience when the song started. And it's the funniest thing ever. She said she'd see people sitting up a little straighter because of that anthemic feel. Mm-hmm. And I wanted that feel. Because the whole time I was writing the song, I kept seeing the performance of the dancers coming on to that. That is what I saw. And I saw, then it starts off, then I saw the road. I saw the song The Road. And interestingly enough, it is the only song ever in Guyana's history to be the most played song 2 years in a row, and it's never won the award, never won the Soca Monarch. Mm-hmm. It's never won it. The song has never been, I have never won it. And deservedly so, because the second year, Pat Wilford, with her wisdom and understanding, said, "Courtney, enter Arrowhead this year." I said, that's an old song, that's last year. Because it hadn't been entered the first year, Buxton Spice won by default. And after I ended up meeting Chris Wilson and 7 at the time, young Adrian Dutching, mm-hmm. and he was being about 16 or 17 at the time. And I remember very well, Chris came to me at the show and said, "Man, I gotta meet you and shake your hand and tell you thanks. Because of the fact that you entered it, we won." And there's a big joke, and we became kind of friends after that. Mm-hmm. But the next year, I wrote El Dorado. And I went to Oh My, mm-hmm. and there was a photographer called Edward McLean, and he said, Courtney, look down. It was myself, Rebel, Canary, the Camille, Goliath, the Lions.
Goliath.
Oh, great singer. Mm-hmm. And she was there. Her husband was there. Mingles was there. Compton was there. Mm-hmm. Young Wilbert Levens was there. It was a heck of a sight. And I remember Edward McLean looking at the flecks. He said, "Look, Courtney, look at that." And it was little flecks of gold in the mud. He said, "Brother, that's El Dorado right there." Mm-hmm. Boom! Because I was looking for a column song for Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. And when we were on the boat, we were going through, and I remember Norman McLean turning and saying, y'all soca singers, calypso singers, you write a song about this. I had a yellow pad in my hand. I still have that pad. The water was splashing on the pad and running the ink. I have that originally in plastic for my kids. Yeah. And young Little Joe, the calypso singer, he said at the time, he said,
Little Joe
died in the same one.
In the flood.
Yes, he said, "Arrow, if you got a bad tune, boy, right?" I said, "Bro, this song's called El Dorado, City of Gold." I said, "Man, when you finish it, let me have it." He died before it came out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I mean, these are the things, because whenever I seem to remember him. I went to Carrie Festa with Arrowhead and El Dorado, and I performed at Caravana with the Don Gomes group, promoting El Rabi, the big El Rabi Waterloo float. So, I mean, these are things that I never set out. I mean, if you really talk about career strategy, my career strategy was to be a pop R&B artist. And I haven't stopped doing that. I mean, it's kind of disappointing to me, I'm just be honest about it, that more of my songs aren't played in Guyana. And it's funny because I don't know how this works, but there are people who still don't know my name. You know, they know Arrowhead, and you gotta, I mean, that happened today when you mentioned the song, because that's a bit of a change, because it's about business, about marketing, about branding myself. So there are things that are being done. I have a PR person now for the last year who is really phenomenally gifted. She's a samurai. So I am still have my feet, you know, in both worlds. You were mentioning earlier about my soca songs. My soca songs are always going to have a little something extra because it comes from a pop world. It comes from even gospel world. I'm not a gospel singer per se. I didn't grow up singing in church, but I know that feel. Just the beginning of the song, Arrowhead. That's a gospel shout out. You know what I mean?
So tell me something. I mean, it's 20 years. Very few songs live for 20 years. Very few songs really gain iconic status. But I mean, this song is very particular. It speaks to a very nationalistic Guyanese ethos, which very few songs have the power to do that.
Yeah.
What do you want to see with the song going forward?
Well, you know, given that it's the 20th anniversary, I had some major plans. I was going to do, I guess in the sense of Victory Lap, I was going to go back, Circle of Life kind of thing, back to where it started at Toronto, in Toronto, Caravana, sorry. And that was my plan for last year. Because the song was actually written in 2000, but it was released, this is the 20th year of its release, 2000, from 2001 to 2021. But it was written in 2000, and I was going to do that circle last year. And it didn't happen because of COVID. I was going to go to Canada, to London, because they've been asking me to perform there for a while. Atlanta, you know, of course, Guyana, in Guyana. Didn't happen. I spoke to the government about putting together a video, which I was going to most likely produce it anyway, and maybe co-direct it, whatever. I was going to seek Russell Lancaster's advice on that too. But I came and the plan just kind of went a little sideways. Now I know COVID has something to do with that too, and you know, I'm aware of that, but I still thought the way that I had put together the plans that there were aspects of it that we could still do. Seemed like it was getting somewhere, and then things just kind of like tanked. So at this point, I have to regroup and figure out, because there are other projects I have in mind too that I'm here to do as well. But I really had hoped for that happening. So at this point, that's not going to happen this year. But the thing with the release, it wasn't just, it's going to be a brand new remix of the song. Or I should say remake, because it's going to be a different vibe. But you got to update. Because I've done various remixes over the year. But this one, this is the 20th remake. This is going to be a doozy, at least in my head. Because what you're doing, I'm competing with myself now, competing with the original Arrowhead. And this was going to be the vibe, the energy, but taking it to another level, right? And I wanted to do a special remix with other artists. I think it's 20 years, 20 collaborations, right? But that's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into right now. Logistics, personalities, and 1 years. But I have done a few collaborations. I did one with Terry Gadraj for a song that I don't know if they've ever played in Guyana called Chef Miguel. But going forward with Arrowhead, the project would involve a new remake, a video, and a t-shirt. I have the old Arrowhead t-shirt, let me show you, 20 years old, and do an updated version of that. So somehow maybe put the old one in the back and the new one in the front, whatever, you know, to show better now. But that's what I wanted to do, and have a whole package involving the t-shirt, the CD, the DVD, and a booklet, a 20-page back in the 20 years, theme, a 20-page booklet talking about the different stories. What we actually talking about right now, the different experiences, the impact in diaspora, things like that. 20 pages of my. I started writing one of the experiences. That was like about 2 pages there already. So there's 20 years. There's a lot. There's a lot that's happened. People like Tangerine Clark, the Guyana Cultural Association, Claire Ann Goring, rose up. So these individuals have helped me, promoted me. The song brought me back into the fold because at the time, I was really deep into R&B and pop. You know, my first song I wrote was called X Marks the Spot with Malcolm X. And through that, I actually met Spike Lee, and which led to other things and See You Yesterday and things like that. But the thing is to really, for me, having, being able to impact upon Guyanese people, the joy that I get out of their joy of seeing the flag. I mean, it's the most amazing thing because, like I said, these individuals have seen me perform the song so many times, and I keep saying, like the second year I performed, the second year I was saying, y'all need to hear this song. That's what I was saying back then. And they were saying, no, sing the tune, sing the tune. So like, okay. But I never get tired of singing it. And the reason why is that I know the feeling, I know the story behind the song, and I know how it makes me feel. And you can't sell something if you don't feel it. That's why gospel singers are so phenomenal. Whitney Houston and Mahalia Jackson, Aretha Franklin, you gotta feel that. I mean, someone can give you a song to sing, and I'm glad, I'm very happy that I'm a songwriter. Someone can give you a song to sing that, okay, Courtney, it's be a hit or whatever, just sing the song. Well, it's a beautiful song, but it's not my experience. Okay, be an actor. If you're gonna go and act as a mass killer, that means you've killed 20 people. Just feel it, vibe it. That's all well and good. And I think, of course, people do that all the time. De Niro, etc., whatever. These wonderful, whenever you get to the actors. But for me, when I sing a song, and I write it, I know this story. I know how I feel about, for example, my ex-wife or someone I'm in love with. I know that story because I'm writing that story. And I can't fake that. Personally, I can't fake it. Like I tell people all the time, people say what you see is what you get. With me, what you get is what you see. There's no precision behind me saying, okay, do. Of course, you're gonna take advice. Maybe you wanna be, that suit you're wearing. Yeah, maybe you should wear this shirt with it because okay. But everything I do has been on my own. Everything that I choose.
So
has been
to close off this interview,
yes,
I want
sir.
to make a segue, and the segue is to the wall of faces behind you.
Yes, indeed. Oh man,
I didn't
yes.
get the chance to talk about it at the beginning of the interview, but I do think I want to talk about it because I think that ultimately, while we have all of this stuff going on around us, family is truly important.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that wall.
Yes. This wall is, we call it the Wall of Fame. This wall is my life. This wall is my life. I am. My sister did this, Cheryl. She did this. She's an artist in Africa. I'm not exactly sure. It was Senegal, but this wonderfully gifted artist. I mean, she was in mission. She was at the United Nations, and you're on mission. You really feel, all sorts of bombs and guns and all sorts of stuff happening. Warlords and so she is in her tent or whatever it was at the time, and she's feeling homesick, and also you don't know if you can get out of this alive, so she survived, thank God, and she said, something, let me start. She recognized the artistry, the gift of this artist, and she just started making these paintings of her family, and it's one of those things where it's such a simple thing, but you don't think about it. It's like writing a song with a flag. It's such a simple thing, but it's like, why did I think of that? This is something that means a lot to my family. My kids are here. Remember when my son was a little chubby? That's it. He doesn't look anything like that now. My daughter's on the other side, on the bottom right. My niece, Ebony, Noel, the actress, she's up there. My brother, we're all up there, except for, well, not all. That'd have to be a heck of a wall. Because my sister Cheryl, she's not on the wall. She's the one who put it together, she's not on the wall. But family keeps me grounded. Family, we all help each other. We all support each other. And it all, to me, I don't know, my great-grandparents come from India on my mother's side, and from Ghana on my father's side. And it's Kerala on my great-grandmother's side, and it's in Ghana. So we don't know, and I'm curious to find out, because I want to travel, what if there were artists because we all do something. I'm a singer-songwriter, of course. I'm acting now, and then Ebony is an actress, singer. I have another niece over here. She's a choreographer, a very gifted and recognized choreographer. She met Angela Davis in Brazil. I mean, this girl is no joke. Then you have my brother, who's over here. He just finished a screenplay. It's just, this is what we do. My father writes poetry still, for fun. It took him many years, well into his 80s, when he told me, and I asked him if you could have done something else besides, become a civil servant. What would you have done that you regret not having learned? He said, to play the saxophone. I never knew that. My father was in the plane with the Beatles when they came to the US. It took him 60, 70 years to tell me that. He was way into his, pushing 80 before he said, oh, when they were doing the anniversary, he said, oh, I was in the plane with them. Who knew? So even though what stressed my family is education, my family, I work with the UN, my sister worked with the UN, God bless the UN. I like and I enjoy working in the UN. I love music. I love film. If someone says tomorrow the UN, you know what, buddy, it's Mr. Noel, I think it's it would be disappointing and it would hurt, but I would find something else. Music, and I always say two things. There's a Michael Jackson story and there's a Ray Charles story. Someone once said if Michael Jackson was Michael Joseph Jackson, the bus driver, he wouldn't make it. This is what he didn't know anything else. Different park, when we had the race horses there. My brother had a traumatic experience when he was about 12. My brother was my size, so he was a tiny little thing on his horse, and he was learning to ride his horse nicely cantering. And then some car backfired, and the horse took off with my brother clinging on for dear life. Down that same Durban Park, which became, of course, the stadium. So all those memories were there, man. And my mother's passing.
What year was that?
That happened to him? Oh man, it would have been 70 something, 71 thereabouts. I started, I took how much, 71, 72, Caracas 72.
When the cultural center was not yet fully
right. We used to walk across the road.
I know.
The red road and the tent. And I was excited because my family came in from we were in New York for the first time in 71. So the next year they were all coming for that. So as much as I was excited to see them, I was waiting for the results of the common entrance. So I was like, my mother, boy, God rest there, she would say from the day she died up to the day. It was a big joke in my family because she was talking about, my handwriting. And I bore this quote shame for so many years. I missed common entrance by 1 mark. Literally 1 mark. My mother, she drilled it into my head, but I panicked. Because she was also in the vigilante, Courtney, watch your handwriting, and if you run into problems, whatever, do not go back. Just keep going. It's best to finish 3/4 than to go back and only finish maybe 1/3 or 2, whatever it is. Jack asked me. I blazed in this thing. I said, I got this. And I said, I don't know what my hand, let me go. And I went back. Listen, pencils down. What the hell? I finished like about half the thing. That 1 mark haunted me for life. So I went to Saints. My brother and my dad went to QC. So when I went to Saints, it was like, I wasn't the black family. They were happy, they was going to Saints, it's a good school, whatever. But I was like, man, but let me tell you, I had such a blast. I'm a Saints man, true and true. I'm a Saints man, true. The year, when I did my A-levels at QC, I completed the circle. But the time at Saints, at QC
really groomed you.
Let me tell you that. I'm a Saints man. When I went to QC, because I wasn't sure what to expect because, like I said, I was dating Catherine Eichel and there were a lot of rivalries, people this one, but we were all friends to some degree. But the QC guys and the Saints guys with the girls, them guys were deadly with these girls. So here I come, and I knew all these Bishop's girls because of Cheryl, and they didn't want to, but it went beautiful because remember, these guys at QC were also my brother's friends. They were, and people at Saints were my brother's friends. They were neighbors, they were hungry. So it worked beautifully for me. And QC was where my music really, that was what gave me, I got on stage for the first time as a teenager.
Was Derek Atkins there at that time?
Derek would have been, how old was Derek when he died?
He was 60 something.
Yeah, Derek was going
65 or something.
No, he was, he had left about 3 years before that.
But in any case, he really didn't like music at Queen's College.
Yeah.
That only came later. Which is interesting.
That's something. Well, Abbas Joseph, I talk about her all the time. I did one, and the only person who ever taught me music, because I can't read or write music, was Abbas Joseph for one semester. And I learned to play the drums, playing Superstition. That was the first thing I ever played. And I was a class clown. So but music for me, I could read and write French and Spanish, and I cannot read and write, I could read and write music. But the thing is, it's right here. How I do music, I don't go in the studio and say, and start with a keynote. I start singing. When I'm singing, I already do with all my songs. When I start singing the song, and I'm singing the song, whoa, so I do all the arrangements with my mouth from the strings.
And they hear it.
Yeah. I love that baby, ooh yeah. That's how I do music. So that's why I work with some people so often, some individuals, because they know my shorthand. So when they're huddling and say, wait, there's a C or an E or the G, there's a G flat, and they ask me, I don't know. What I would do is I would sing it into their voicemail before I get to the studio. So they already got that, they got that, yeah, they got the context.
And
they
then
got
they start working.
Right, so when I get there, it's like I call it making a table. First you got to cut down the tree, and you shave the leaves, and you play the
But
music.
there are so many approaches to making music happen that no one approach is right.
Right.
There are no right approaches. Once we get the music at the end, that's it.
Right.
So that's
what's right for me.
That brings me to the question of how do you think of your music? What is the context in which your music happens? How did you decide, for instance, that you want to create this particular kind of music? What were your influences? Where did this whole thing about where you started being a musician get to you? When did you realize you were a musician?
I knew it since I was I knew. I didn't think of music. I thought of acting, because acting was my first love, acting. And I was a little ham, just like Al Pacino. His grandparents didn't speak English, so he would go to the movies. I guess with the Nickelodeon at the time, in the old days, the Nickelodeon, and come back and recite the whole film to them. And the same thing I do with the music, where I'm singing the music and singing the lyrics and singing it. He would put the whole thing together, including the music. And then dun, I thought I was the only one doing it. I used to do that since I was this high. So everyone in my family knew I was a big ham. They knew that I was an entertainer, and I was a pretty good dancer too. Cheryl was also a fantastic dancer and an amazing singer. Ebony, her daughter, she sings and acts. People haven't really heard her sing yet, but she's got a voice. So for me, when I was at St. Margaret's, that's when it started picking. But the thing is, there's precedence, because my grandmother played the harmonica, self-taught. My grandfather played the fiddle, self-taught. So they are in Bartica, Phoenix Island, this whole rustic setting with no electricity. Flambeau, my grandfather was a boat builder, and so he built boats, and she was a pastry maker. She used to go to QC and bride Captain Knobs when my dad was there with the patties. Uncle Rashi Jackson and Aubrey Bishop and all those guys. She came one day to give my dad a big kiss. He didn't expect her. So he's a little QC man now. So and the boys were tantalizing him, but they were saying, Mrs. Noel, when is he coming back? With the patties. So that was what I heard as a child, listening to their music. I couldn't sing. I couldn't carry a tune. You put it in a basket and you give it to me. Cheryl, my sister, was the one. She amazing singer and choreographer at the time. She was like me high. So she danced. She studied with Lavinia Williams at the Bedtime back in the old days. So Cheryl did everything: sports, Bishop's deputy head, athletics, the whole 9 yards, music, dancing. I was the guy who carried the records. I had this little thing with 45s, and I was the music guy. But I'm watching, and I wanted to sing so badly. And she didn't. She loved singing, but to her it was a hobby. But I saw myself on that stage, and she never wanted to be professional. And then one day, like she tells the story. She said, my brother wanted it so bad that I think God just said, you know what, this is your gift, because I played table tennis. So I played for Saints and played against QC. That was interesting, because my dad and brother went to QC. So there I am playing table tennis and dancing and doing everything except singing. Then one fateful day, my friend Wilbur Baskin Jr., who happened to be Eddie Grant's cousin, he had an amazing voice. He got the gold medal for a music festival. I mean, he sang. He had it naturally. He knew it. course, he used to go to the movies and sing to the girls, and next thing you know, he's walking out hand in hand with the girl. I'm like, how does he do this? How does he do this? The vocals. So one day I was listening to the radio, and some commercial was playing, and I started singing the commercial. And after the commercial, a song came on. So my mother's watching me. You know, parents are always watching, and you don't know they're watching. And I'm listening to this song, and I started singing the bridge before it came. And my mother was asking me if I've heard the song before. And I said, no, she said, well, how did you know that he was going to do that? And I said, I just felt it, that there was a change coming. And she looked at me, and she said, well, why you don't write your own songs? That was it. I never even thought of writing my own songs. So I left Guyana, went to New York. I went to Brooklyn College. I met Chris Rock. I didn't know who Chris Rock was at the time. I started singing with a friend of mine that I went to St. Stanislaus, who had a studio. A guy called Mark Mojave here, nicknamed Mobby. So he was in the same class and era with Nigel Hughes. That was that time. I was a couple years ahead of them. So there was all that happening at the time. Then I went to, first as a child, St. Margaret's, getting ready for music festival. The first year we competed in music festival, we won. We won. I still can't imagine how I did all those steps. I was about, I guess, 8 or 9, and we competed against St. Ambrose, which is where Cheryl went to, my sister went to. And they came in second and we were first. And I can imagine what it was like in the house, because my mother was making costumes for both of us. And we won. And I mean, we're a pretty tight family. We both supported each other. We both supported each other. She was so happy that St. Margaret's won. But what about yours? She said, yeah, I'll give you. But she was really always rooting for me, always rooting for me. So that's how it happened.
What's the earliest memory you have of growing up? Where was the first place you remember living, and how did that influence you?
That would be Campbellville. I'm not sure Sharon knows all these things, if it's section M or section K, but I remember Campbellville so vividly. I remember going to the Lutheran church and all that kind of, those things. I mean, the people who lived in Campbellville, I realized later on, as I read some books from people who went to Campbellville, were really very talented athletes. The A-guards and those individuals. I mean, I think June Griffith might have lived in Campbellville. I mean, athletics was that kind of athletics. Running like that wasn't really my thing. But dancing and singing, and we had a cousin. My dad had a cousin who would come over and play a box guitar, and he's influenced me in so many ways. He was, he's really a Renaissance man. He played music. He was into martial arts, bodybuilding, and I'm just a little skinny kid just listening to him tell these great stories, and the music that he sang, the whole Sam Cooke thing. These songs influence me greatly to this day, because I do, I'm planning on doing like an album of classics, but these are the songs that really, because I really didn't understand like the depth of the love song. To me, it was just a guy with a nice voice, but when he's singing, I'll always be a slave. Who's it? I'll always be a slave until I'm buried in my grave. I couldn't understand what the heck was that about. This guy. I mean, but as I got older and I got more experience and started dating and started getting to my high school, I was like, now I get it. Now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But QC, as a young adult, QC, not St. Stanislaus. St. Stanislaus was mostly about having fun, studying the girls, table tennis. But QC was where it really clicked for me as a young performer. And Compton Hodges has a lot to do with that. And I was happy when I met him. The first time I met him when he came back to promote Arrowhead, he was telling me that, I reminded him a lot of himself as a younger guy, because the energy and what. And that was a big compliment for me. And I told him to his face, I said, I really appreciate that, because when I was younger, I was watching you, when they came to QC to do those stage shows and things like that. I mean, I was like, who's this guy? I mean, Compton was on fire, man. I mean, this guy is deadly. And I'm like, that's the guy I want to be. That's the guy I want to be. And I was watching him. And I remember being on stage, playing my bongos with no shirt on and my little denim vest and whatnot. I think it was so cool with my little baby afro. But then I had a chance to step on that stage. Now, it's always a time when you're about to leave high school. Like, you're feeling you're all cocky and full of yourself, but you're still a little scared because there's a big wide world waiting for you. And we had a little band, myself and some friends of mine. And matter of fact, my friends, Stuart Lamb, now has a band in Canada. But we were rehearsing, we were ready. We were doing songs like 96 Degrees in the Shade, which I really learned how to really work the harmony, because third word is no joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stevie Wonder, one of Stevie Wonder's songs, Knocks Me Off My Feet. So I was in love with this. I always have my little crushes, and I was in love with this young lady who shall remain nameless. She knows who she is, though. And I decided to sing Knocks Me Off My Feet. My God. Let me tell you something, because all the other songs were group songs. And so we're doing 96 Degrees and we skanking all over the place. And what they call it skanking back in the day. Remember, you listen to me say skanking. And the word is skanking. But anyway, there we were, skanking all over the stage. And, you know, Bobby's watching like. So then it got to the solo part. And it got to the Knocks Me Off My Feet. And I'm standing there. And I mean, we had some really great musicians, man. I mean, I'm looking back and saying these guys were, you know, really top notch. And I stood there and I was in my solo. And my knees are knocking. I'm thinking, well, dang, this is really it now. She's in the audience. She's watching. And all her friends are watching. All my friends are watching. And then it starts. I see us in the park, strolling the summer days of imaginings in my head. And that was it. After that, after the first knee knocking stuff, you know, then we got into it, man. And I was gone. I mean, I even forgot about her. I was just so focused on nailing those notes. It's Stevie Wonder, for God's sakes. But that was my first real moment of feeling that, you know what, I think I got a little something here. You know, that's what I started feeling that. And my sister, actually I did 2 shows that day, because there was that one show and there was another song I had to sing over the Bishops. A duet with Angela Curran. So I rushed from one show to the next, and I never forget this day till I die. We were singing Reunited. And I'll call his name, because I'm sitting behind his back and to his face. Attorney Stephen Fraser came over to get the equipment, because we had QC loaded the Bishops. So, right in the middle of the song, Attorney Fraser, not then attorney, he came up and, okay, so we can take the equipment with the microphone. No, Angela Curran, he wasn't being mean about it, just there was a time limit, you know, and the show had started late. So, Angela was, I don't know if you know it, Angela Curran was the individual who sang Greatest Love of All for Forbes Burnham's 50th birthday at the Cultural Center. And he was the first person to leap to his feet and start applauding.
But let me tell you, I will digress for a moment.
And there's a Ray Charles story. Lance was asking about music and his love for music, and he said, I sing every day. I don't sing because I want to sing. I sing because I got to sing. That is me right there. That is me.
Thank you, Courtney.
My pleasure. That's what I do.